Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, remembering my first CD and my early impressions of CDs. I've been seeing on the internet that it's the 40th anniversary of the birth of the CD. I've seen some people make videos on it, so I thought it would be fun to look back and remember the very first time I heard a CD. Now, I've made a couple videos on CDs. I made two of them, why there will be a CD revival and why there won't be a CD revival. I think a lot of people didn't realize I made two different videos. The why there won't be video got a lot of views, and a lot of people got really angry at me, and I said, hey, I made another video where, you know, I say all the positive things about CDs. So I'll link down in the description down below the various videos that I've made about CDs. Okay, so the first time I ever heard of a CD or saw a CD, I was in a music store and there was a woman, I don't know if she worked in the store or they brought her in or what, but she was explaining to the people in the store what a CD is, and she was holding it up. I remember her holding it up and showing this shiny side of the CD and talking about how it reads with a laser instead of a needle, like a record. And I distinctly remember her saying that these things were indestructible, and she even took it and threw it on the ground and picked it up, and she talked about how, oh, you know, you can do anything to the CD and it won't damage it, it won't affect the sound, it'll keep playing. And of course, we all know that that's not the case now, that CDs, if you scratch them, they can skip or too many fingerprints on them. But at the time, for the first, like, I don't know, year or something, when I had CDs, or my first so many CDs that I got, or at least until I put a scratch on one that caused it to skip, I thought that they were indestructible. So this woman was, you know, I guess just, you know, trying to hype up CDs. But she was just all about how, you know, records get scratched and they get dirty, but CDs, they're pristine. You can do anything to them. They won't be damaged and they'll just sound the same forever. You know, they'll never wear down and everything. So that was my first exposure to even, like, what is a CD? And I remember seeing a lady holding a thing like, wow, it's so small. It looks like a record. It's kind of circular, but it's like so small and everything. You know, I was just couldn't even wrap my head around what she was talking about, you know, with the sound and everything. So then when I was in college, a guy I knew sold me a, quote, a portable CD player. And this thing was like about the size of a shoebox. You know, it was like this thick. It was like this wide. And I don't know if it was meant for you to carry somewhere or what. I don't know. But at the time I was living in an apartment and I had like a cassette boombox thing. So I thought, all right, he sold this to me for like $50 or something, and I thought, all right, I'm gonna get this. I can plug headphones into it, I can listen to it. So I got this portable CD player, and I thought to myself, all right, well, I have to go get a CD. So I went to the store, not sure why I picked this. I mean, I love this album. I got AC/DC's Flick of the Switch, and it was in a long box. Now, for those who may not remember, the long box was just a box, this long box that allowed it to stand up in the racks so you could see the cover. They would eventually replace that with those plastic like shell things that they take off at the counter. But when CDs first came out, they were in long boxes, and those things are actually collector's items now. So I got Flick of the Switch, came home. I remember I went to my parents' house for the weekend, so I brought the portable CD player, the CD, everything. Was at my parents' house, went to my old room, laid down, put the headphones on, and hit play. And I thought, what is going on? There's nothing happening. Is this like broken? What is this? So now I have to remember, my entire life, when I listened to the music, there was always background noise. If you listen to a vinyl record, no matter how good it is or how good your system is, you can hear the needle in the groove as the record goes around. You know, rumble, sometimes they call it, or just the background noise of a record. With a cassette, and at that point in my life, I was listening pretty much only to cassettes. When you listen to a cassette, there was a leader tape in the beginning. I don't know exactly, runoff tape, or I don't know what they called it, but it was usually like a blue or a green color. And that would run for a little bit, and then the regular tape would start. And when you were listening to it, you would hear that leader tape, and then you would hear the other tape kind of kick in, and the hiss would kick in, and then the music would kick in. So I was used to hearing like background sounds. So I put this CD on, I heard nothing, and I thought, oh, is this thing not working? What's going on? And then all of a sudden the song just kicked in, and I remember being startled, like, whoa, it felt like it just came out of nowhere. There was no tape hiss beforehand. There was no, like, I couldn't hear the sound of anything. It just came out of nowhere. It was dead silent. And that was my first impression of CDs. It was like, man, there's like no background noise. And this is hard to appreciate for somebody who's grown up with digital, but at that point in my entire life, all music that I listened to had varying degrees of background noise still. So to go from that to just absolute dead silence, I was completely blown away. Like when the first song, Rising Power, ended and there was the silence between the songs, I couldn't believe it. I was just floored. And when I was listening to the music, I couldn't believe how much high end there was, the low end. It seemed like the stereo separation was a lot more, and it just seemed like there was a lot more. It was like clean. It was like glass, you know, smooth glass. Everything was very shiny and bright and clear when I was listening to it, you know, and I was just absolutely taken aback by it. Like, whoa, this is so like crystal clear, and you can just the separation between the instruments, and there seemed to be this depth to the sound that I wasn't used to hearing, because that depth was sort of filled up with tape hiss or, you know, the sound of the record spinning around and stuff like that. It wasn't, maybe, gosh, it was probably like, so after I got that, then I was like, okay, this is just amazing. I've got to get more. Coming from cassettes, this just seemed like a night and day thing. And I was like, I have to get more CDs. But at the time, CDs were expensive. You know, I think I paid like $18 or something for that CD. And I also remember the guy at the record store telling me like, oh, the price is just high on them right now because they're, you know, new technology, the price will come down. And as we know, they eventually came down, but the price of CDs remained pretty high for a pretty long time. And $18 in 1989 or 90, whenever it was, is quite a bit. You know, that's probably like $25, $27, $30 now. So it was expensive. So I sort of slowly started buying CDs, and I wish I had kept those long boxes. And then I remember saving up some money and getting a CD player in my car. You know, oh man, now I can listen to CDs in my car. But I don't know if you guys remember this, and I don't know, maybe it was just maybe I had cheap CD players. It seemed like CD players back then were a little temperamental. Like sometimes they wouldn't play the disc, they skipped easily. I learned pretty quickly that the lady at the store lied, that if you did put a scratch on it, it could cause it to skip. But I remember the CD player in my car, it was very finicky. It would play some discs, it wouldn't play others. It was very frustrating. Sometimes it would play and then it would start skipping or it would freeze up. So it was very, you know, touchy and everything, but I was just happy to be able to now listen to CDs in my car. And then, you know, from there, I pretty much just switched over, and everything that I bought till I started, you know, buying vinyl again, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, you know, so all through the 90s, I was pretty much just buying CDs. But all right, there you go. There's my early memory of my first experiences with CDs. Let me know in the comments down below, what was the first CD that you bought? And what was your first impressions, the first time you heard digital, the first time you heard a CD? What are your memories of that? What did you think when you heard it for the first time? Check out the other videos that I did on CDs down in the description. Make sure you check out all my socials linked below. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.